some degree, because I see that, like, at this point, Romeo and Juliet, which is a wonderful play, and I love Romeo and Juliet, but I kind of look at it the same way and think, really, this was your solution, is that you guys are going to just commit suicide.
But at least, I mean, they were 15, I mean, come on, or 13, or whatever.
Right, they're very young, so it's clear that they're stupid.
Yeah.
They're
developing,
not, they don't understand.
They're impulsive.
They're impulsive.
They're
they
not
don't understand that there are actual permanent consequences to such an action necessarily.
Right.
But I think that very often, when that play is done, the people producing it or the actors doing it aren't clear that Romeo and Juliet are so young and are so impulsive. They're not adults. They're essentially children. You know, they're teenagers.
Well, when you can get a 13-year-old to speak in 60 word sentences.
If you can get it to do it, yeah.
You know, that's the cool thing. Now they get older and older people who have had some training, and they're not naive and open and sweet as candy. But I've had high school kids do the whole play, and they've been unbelievably, heartbreakingly perfect at it. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was very important to do a play about teen suicide that could make you scream and cry at the end.
Absolutely.
We just did Dog Sees God at the university. I just directed it at the American Musical Dramatic Academy. Do you know Dog Sees God? It's the Peanuts characters grown up to teenagers.
Oh,
and Charlie
no
Brown
way.
is kissing Schroeder, and Schroeder's gay.
Oh, how
And
wonderful.
Pigpen's turned into a gay basher.
Although it would have been Linus.
Linus is a pothead now.
Yeah.
Oh.
What about, okay, Marcy's gay.
Marcy's
thought
gay.
that
Marcy
Linus-
and Peppermint Patty have hooked
Sure.
Yeah,
We knew that.
sir.
Yeah,
But I would
exactly.
have thought that Linus would have been gay and Schroeder would have been a pothead, because Schroeder was the
No,
musician.
he was.
But okay.
Schroeder was the musician who turned into the gay boy who gets gay bashed and his hands are smashed and he commits suicide in the play.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
How does he
But
do
the
it?
kids went nuts.
He has no hands. How does he do it?
He does it with an overdose of pills. It's a cartoon.
No, it's a cartoon. I know. I'm thinking
They
about
don't
it
have,
too
they
much.
already didn't have fingers.
But the dialogue was all fuck you, fuck you, fuck you back.
Yeah.
And the kids loved it.
Sure.
They just thought, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Because they can't wade through all that language to try to find their stories. They
It
want to
is.
see,
They need to.
I'm 15 and if I give this blowjob then I will be cool.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, if I take this bomb hit then I will be cool. And if I do this cocaine I will be cool. If I smash this faggot's face I will be cool. And of course everything doesn't turn out as cool as they think it will.
Yeah.
But at least there are some projects out there that are being written for the kids of today. But it was so vulgar and profane, I just felt very sorry for everybody.
Did the parents have to sign waivers that they were allowed to do it? Say all those curse words?
No, but we did have this high school group come and they walked out after 10 minutes.
Oh,
That's when you know you're good.
It's not your good man, Charlie Brown.
no, not quite.
But the teachers were like dragging them, right?
Yeah, the kids wanted to stay.
Stay.
They weren't old enough.
Avenue Q.
Avenue Q.
Right. But it is hard to find really strong role models for women. It's not so much in the entertainment business anymore. No, it's like Michelle Obama and, you know, world leaders and you guys. And
I'm not
nobody
sure
believes
that it was
stories
so.
on TV anymore.
The thing about
I'm not sure that there ever were really good positive role models for women. In
Well, they're
entertainment.
certainly not publicized.
In
but they
entertainment?
fuck entertainment.
I'm saying in entertainment, as celebrities.
Oh.
Celebrity role models for women.
I don't know. Glenn Close kind of always plays it the way she wants to, right? But she's a badass now.
Right.
Now she is totally pigeonholed after The Shield, and then the show she's on now. She's like, all the time.
Strong women get pigeonholed for bitches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think Meryl Streep has probably
Meryl Streep has done
it.
a lot.
Yeah.
And Oprah, certainly. Oh, I think Oprah has done a lot.
It's a lot more than when I was a kid. And even when I was a kid, that was, you know, Doris Day and Julie Andrews, they wouldn't even tell you that those people were sleeping with women. It would have been easier if they had told us.
They didn't tell you that Rock Hudson didn't sleep with women. Also.
It's so much more clear. Oh, okay.
He was gay?
Carrie Fisher. Poor Carrie Fisher.
Uh,
Daddy left mommy for Elizabeth. I mean, that was so public. Like,
well, you know. She had her own little stuff to be screwed up about, I guess. Yes.
On behalf of the chat room, we'd really love to see just a little bit of something Shakespeare. If you want
Something
to think of some
Shakespeare?
favorite little 4 lines you can give us, we would love it.
Good. This is the part where
Not to put you on the spot, but
you did this
but that's
wonderful
what you
thing in your one-person show where you said, you know, when you're teaching your students or your actors about movement, men move. I'm simplifying it. Men move this way. Women move this way.
That's true.
was
If I
wonderful.
stand up. So I was just going to say, for the guys, they tend to move directly, like this. And the girls, they tend to break all their angles like this. So it's just a way of playing where, for men, I'll try to do some Shylock, but I'll do it sitting because this is limited.
Love it.
3,000 ducats. And for 3 months. Let me see the rate, eh? Signor Antonio, eh? Many a time and oft in the Rialto you have rated me about my moneys and my usances. Still have I borne it with a patient shrug, for sufferance is the badge of all my tribe. Eh? You call me misbeliever, cutthroat dog, and spit upon my Jewish gabardine, and all for use of that which is mine own. Well, now it doth appear you need my help. Go to then. You come to me, and you say, Shylock, we would have monies. You say so. I could go on, but it's a little bit of a Shylock.
Fantastic.
I'm just saying that's more direct, right? It's a deeper voice. It's a fuck you attitude. I'm taking this space. And then it goes into the story and stuff, which I could go on for minutes and minutes, but I wasn't going to just take up your time. But I'm just saying, for Shylock, that's how it starts, with direct movement and some question of justice, or what is a man, that's important enough to spend a year thinking about. Which in this case is, how do you pick up a knife and cut out a guy's heart in front of people, and why would you do that? No, really, how could you do that? Which women didn't. We don't go around cutting people's hearts out for the most part. But there would be a point.
But if we were, we would think about it.
If you had the point of it being public,
Right.
is interesting. To do it publicly and to discuss it
Or to do it
publicly,
privately.
to say what options do I have, given what you've done. You taught me this. You taught me this instruction. I imitate you. This is your justice.
Well, I think that that's something too, is that we talk about men's space as public space and women's space as private space. So that even if a woman were to do something like this, would it be public?
Well, I just went to New York last weekend to do a reading of a new play by Lee Fondakowski. She wrote The Laramie Project. She's written a play about Charlotte Cushman. I got to read Charlotte Cushman's part. Charlotte Cushman was a huge lesbian and one of the most famous actors in the world. She played Romeo and Hamlet beautifully and got paid more than any actor in the world for doing it in the 1860s when she revolutionized the theater industry.
How come Sandra Bernhard gets all the publicity? Charlotte is?
Because Charlotte Cushman was a big lesbian and they erased her from the books. But she made $8,600 a week in 1870 touring Europe. She opened it the same week as Booth and Forrest in New York. The same week, they all played Hamlet. She went to Booth's wife and said, I want you to loan me his costume. And she got his wife to loan her she could get a woman to do anything she wanted, Charlotte Cushman. She had a wife for 17 years. She also had a lover for most of those years. And she was the funder for so many women artists that were sculptors and painters at the time. She had a whole house full of emancipated women who wore men's clothing back in the day. And you don't know who she is. And you don't know who Charlie Brown is. It was Colley Cibber's daughter, who was a cross-gender Shakespearean actress, had her own company back in the 1700s. Charlie Brown. Why don't we know who she is? She was totally famous. Do you know? She was cross-dressing just like Charlotte Cushman, but it's a little dicey how much this wants to get reported. Even though she was the best actress in the world. Like Flatton Macready, who was very famous at the time. And Booth was only remembered because his brother shot Lincoln and that sort of thing. But Charlotte Cushman is the angel in Bethesda Terrace in Central Square in New York City. That is a statue of her by her wife from 1870 when she was dying of breast cancer. 12,000 people gathered in New York City to watch her wave from her balcony. and you don't know who she is.
No,
Because
it's
she's been
fantastic.
wiped from
Yeah.
the pages of history, and she's so interesting to me. To me, to know all of them is interesting, but to know that you're not reinventing the wheel immediately puts the bar elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's like,
Absolutely.
wait, not only has this all been done, they were playing in rep 5 shows a week. And that was Hedda Gabler
Yeah.
and Hamlet and Romeo and, whatever else they wanted to play. So, I don't know, it was a fine tradition. But you can't know about it unless women write each other's stories.
Absolutely.
Great.
No, it is. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
It's interesting, isn't it?
But clothing is power.
Clothing is power.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And I was trying to influence the playwright to give her the clothes and to give her the poetry. Because she didn't put any Shakespeare in her play. And she didn't put any male clothing in the play.
Oh.
And I thought, I would, number one, totally want to be wearing them. If that's what I was famous for, playing
That's what
Hamlet
she
and Romeo, and if my wife, partner, person was a woman called Max, who was the suffragette who wore male clothing at the time, I would want that to be remembered. But
Absolutely.
at this point, it's kind of more like the lesbian soap opera of all the girlfriends that she had. I'm like, I don't really care if she slept with 5 women in 35 years. I mean, like, 5 women in 35 years is not a big number. That's just not a big deal.
No.
Plus, they're all professing their celibacy, so they were
Right.
living in marriages of the heart, but not necessarily having all that. I really don't think she should be remembered. I think she should be remembered for being a wonderful actor who played anything she wanted and changed the whole world. So I make my influence known and put whatever Shakespeare I can back in there. But interestingly, that they can't find a lesbian now who does Shakespeare, except me. I mean, they had Cherry Jones do it and Lisa Crone do it, and they're like, we don't do Shakespeare. But you could. We won't. We were the greatest American actresses of our time, but we're not going to.
Not going to do that.
Not going to do that. So
amazing.
that's lucky for me. I have a little niche.
Sure.
Job security.
But then you kind of don't want to lose your gravitas. Like, for us all, putting on male attire would be a different reason,
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
a different quest. I mean, it's always fun. It always attracts cool girls, but that's not why. That's not the power of it. The power is transformational, and taking your power and using it however you want to in that moment, and knowing you can wear a skirt or a suit.
Now, what do you think of, because we've talked on this show before, how as we talk about power and women having power in general, especially within the U.S., women have a lot more agency and power to cross-dress than men do. Women cross-dress all the time, and it's not even noticed. And that therefore ends up lacking, the punch behind it gets missed. Because to see a woman in a suit or a woman in slacks or something like that is not necessarily eye-catching. Whereas to see a man in a skirt,
Maybe fashion still work.
is on television. So, what do you think of that?
Well, basically, I think that for a man to embrace their feminine is to embrace their foibles, sweet nuances of humor and softness, which is a luxury for them. Whereas for a woman to embrace her directness and her power is an essential reclaiming of internal terrain and external terrain that we absolutely need in order to function. So it's not that funny, do you know what I mean? And
Right.
even the way that we cross-dress might not be for the flair of the look at me baby, look at me daddy, I've got a silk suit on. Whereas for a guy with the coconuts, they're definitely going, watch me, I'm either making fun of this or I'm just enjoying the hell out of my extra frills, do you know? But for us it's not an extra frill, it's to say no. That's actually a rare, clear moment of boundary time, And you can't really say no sometimes as a woman because they're always telling you you're saying yes when you're saying no. If you're fetching.
Right.
It's like, well, no.
Yeah, I haven't been whistled at in a decade. Fetching's gone.
But one eradicates it as a choice. I mean, I used to do mini skirts. I just couldn't listen to this stupid yelling and catcalling. It's like animals. In New York City, when I was in my 20s wearing heels and a mini skirt to an audition, it wasn't just the room, it was getting there and then getting back.
Wow, did you enjoy the miniskirt, or were you like, agent suggested for this role, let me wear it. Like,
I wasn't never sure if I enjoyed it. I mean, there's a moment when I had my pantyhose in the dressing room mirror. I'm like, that looks like the right silhouette. I look good. My legs look good. That's the right shoe for that. But once you start hitting the sidewalk and the reaction of the predators comes, you're just thinking, that's inelegant.
yeah, and
I don't want this
That's not what you
relationship.
want, yeah.
You know, but you do
That's not
want
what
the
you're looking
job.
for.
When you get in there, you want to be able to look like the
Yeah.
silhouette of the person who makes the $35,000 a week on the series.
Sure.
That sounds like a nice amount of money to get. But, you know, it's just, it's dedicated work. You have to get really good at that girl stuff, especially in this town. The competition is
You
fierce.
gotta be really dedicated.
You have to really enjoy
I'm not
it, I think.
dedicated as things.
I kind of don't enjoy it as much. I wish I did. I would get more work. I haven't really gotten into playing with girls recently. I don't really have that interest. But also it's because it's mostly the victim role. I would much rather play Hamlet than Ophelia. I don't have an Ophelia in me right now. I just don't. You know, I mean, I used to. I could have screamed for how difficult it all was, but I don't think madness is an option at this point. You know?
You want to move it past that.
Can we reason
Hold on.
this through?
I'm going to hold your thought because we need to change
What's
tapes.
that?
So we're going to take a quick break. Everybody stay in the chat room because we're going to shut things down and come back in as we change the tapes. And this has been Is This Normal with Lisa Wolpe, and we'll be back in a couple of seconds.